Hey everybody, thank you for anyone who tunes in tonight live or who tunes in and watches this later. The reason that I wanted to do this is kind of on the back of a Facebook Live I did last night about kind of where I'm headed with my life, connecting fitness, writing, business coaching, and my studies on the Holocaust and genocide with cryptocurrency and the things that I'm doing with my life right now. And I want to start this video by saying, number one, I'll keep it as short as I can, but there is a lot to say in this space. I want to preface this with, if you are living in the US, which it looks like everyone that's watching that I know of definitely is, if you are a US citizen, if you live in the UK, Australia, Canada, if you have the privilege of living in a first world country that gives you access, assuming good credit history and no criminal history, to things like banking, to things like mortgages, this is not for you. Cryptocurrency is not about you. And so I want you to keep an open mind with this and understand that this is about people who don't get to live in a way that is as privileged as the way I personally get to live, and many of you as well. So I want to start by saying that and really keeping an open mind here. So just a quick introduction. I'm a serial entrepreneur. My background is in education, in coaching, both fitness and business. I'm a writer. I have a whole business that's based around writing. I do all kinds of different things, but I entered the crypto space last year after ignoring it for a while and not really thinking much of it, like it wouldn't be something that would interest me. But once I started to do a little bit of investigating, I've kind of taken a dive into the realm of obsession. And there have been a few times in my life that I've done that. First being when I started my master's in Holocaust and genocide studies. Second being when I really found fitness for the first time. And then the most recent thing is in cryptocurrency. So this is really how I spend. I work my other businesses as well, but this is really where I spend early mornings and late nights and the things that I'm learning. So I want to start by talking about how the internet has changed things, because the subject of money is super uncomfortable for people, really uncomfortable to think about, kind of changing what we know about money. But the internet, if we look at it, has changed the world. So we don't transmit mail in the same way before. If I want to communicate with somebody on the other side of the world, it takes me seconds, not days or even weeks. We don't talk to each other the same way anymore. The chances that we are going to pick up a phone and call someone over send them a text, that has changed. The way that we listen to music is different now than it used to be. I remember, being in college and streaming Napster to my dorm room and what a big deal that was. We don't watch movies the same way anymore. We don't take pictures or view photos the same way anymore. Our phone companies don't operate the same way anymore. Long distance is not a thing. And every single time that these changes have come about to these major facets of human life, it's really something that the internet has come for. And I'm here to tell you that the internet has won every single time, and that these things were only unimaginable until they weren't. Even 10 years ago when I was in Europe, it would cost a ton of money to make a phone call and, call home. Now it's free. You can communicate with anyone, anywhere in the world, totally for free, as long as there's 2 smartphones and an internet connection. And that is pretty amazing. So, and I'm here to tell you that the internet is now changing money, which is what we're going to talk about in terms of Bitcoin and really what it is. So what is money? That's kind of the question that you have to start with, because if I just start talking about digital currencies, it's not going to make as much sense. So what is money? It's actually one of the oldest technologies that has been around for humans for hundreds of thousands of years. And it's actually believed to predate writing, because the earliest writings that were found were actually ledgers of money that people owed other people. So this is an incredibly old technology. And if you look at the money you have or the credit cards you have, those things have no intrinsic value. They are simply a representation of value, and they have value because we believe that they have value. And so what is money backed by? There's a very false sense of security, I think, in the U.S. and other countries, that we, are safe with our money in banks and things like that. But, if you paid attention in 2008, that is not the case. And especially in countries that don't operate in a way like the U.S. does, where governments are deeply flawed, in debt, self-serving, probably kind of like, our government here. But in any case, people are not in control of their money, no matter how great the illusion that we are is, depending on where you live. And so some of the misconceptions about Bitcoin are that you can't buy anything with it, it's fake money, that it's used just to support activities on the dark web, terrorists and criminals and drug dealers and traffickers and all that stuff, that it's not backed by anything. People have also heard it's a great investment. You can get rich quick, and that has happened many, many times over again, but that is not the purpose. People also think of it more as a payment system, just as a currency. And then the big thing that I hear from skeptics most often is that it's a bubble. It's going to burst. It's not here to stay. And so I want to talk about really what Bitcoin is, because looking at it as a currency is really just the first application. It's kind of like saying that email is the internet. That's just one thing that Bitcoin can do. And I'm going to speak specifically on Bitcoin and not cryptocurrencies in general, because I think I didn't even look today, but there are around 1,500 of them in the market last time I looked, but Bitcoin is the big one. It's the original. So it was actually released right on the back of 2008, so January 3rd, 2009, and it didn't really have value at first. The first exchange of value with Bitcoin was actually somebody bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoins, which is worth, I'm not good at math in my head, it's worth a lot of money today. Bitcoin's currently trading, I looked a little while ago, $11,400 per today, so do the math. And really what Bitcoin is it is a protocol and a network for recording ownership and trust on a peer-to-peer basis. So I can send anyone money anywhere in the world at any time without anyone's permission, without a third-party intermediary. It's decentralized, which means that nobody owns Bitcoin. No governments can control it, and they cannot step in and control it either. And you can't treat Bitcoin like the money that you know, although you can use it to buy goods and services. There are actually over 100,000 retailers currently accepting Bitcoin, and I think we're going to see that number go through the roof, really probably in the next 2 to 3 years, which is exciting. There are real estate transactions happening in Bitcoin. People are buying coffee with Bitcoin, Teslas with Bitcoin, and anything in between. So this is you can really buy things with it. Bitcoin is actually based on math. It's based on mathematical equations that are verified by thousands of parties, computers, and a network. And so again, it's a system of sending money anywhere to anyone at any time without restrictions. And so it's really all about the removal of bureaucracy and authority. And it's allowing people for the first time ever in history to really, truly be in control of what's theirs. And so some of the benefits, as I mentioned, cryptocurrencies are decentralized, which means, again, not controlled by any third-party entity. It's not controlled by governments in particular, which are, what control currency all around the world, depending on what country you live in. It's anonymous, so transactions are anonymous, which actually makes it super safe to transact in, because your identity can't be stolen, because you literally have a wallet address, and that's it. So there isn't going to be no identity theft when using Bitcoin. I know my credit and debit cards have been hacked, I would say 8, maybe 10 times in the last 6 years. So that's not good. It is unhackable. It is impossible to hack into the blockchain. Individual wallets can be hacked, but secure wallets cannot be. It is not possible. It's borderless. So this is the first kind of international currency that we're seeing, which makes international trade so much easier. And it's available to anyone, like I said, with internet access and a smartphone. You don't even need a computer to do it. Costs very, very little to send. So maybe for like 2 cents for the sender. and is about average, maybe 5 cents. And so again, I said this before, you can send money to the other side of the world literally in seconds. When you wire money to the other side of the world, you're paying enormous fees, and you're having to wait 3-5 days, maybe even a week. Again, no third party authority, and it's scarce like gold. So Bitcoin was actually set up like gold and precious metals. So when the protocol was released, one thing that is a huge part of that protocol is that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins in the entire world. And so what we do every 4 years in Bitcoin is we have the amount that's created per block of transactions. I'm not going to get super technical here because you don't care anyway. So in the year 2012 was the first halving. In the year 2016 was the second halving, and 2020 is going to be our third halving. So the idea is that over time, Bitcoin becomes more scarce, just like precious metal, and it becomes harder to create. Those math problems get harder. And so what that means is supply is going down, demand is going up. And if you have any familiarity in the Bitcoin space, you know that the predictions for where it's going to be in terms of value is between 40 and 50,000 is a common statistic by the end of this year, which I think is totally reasonable. And by 2020, we're going to see astronomical prices on it, just because, again, of that halving, we're going to have less of a supply, more of a demand, and a lot more people are going to be using it, because only about 1% of the world right now is involved in cryptocurrency. And so what excites me the most, this is what I kind of positioned this around when I started this talk. What excites me the most is not what it does for you and me, and I say that if you're a US citizen or, again, living in a privileged kind of first world country. It's about what this does for the other 6 billion people on the planet who don't have access to banking the way that we do, who live under corrupt governments, who will pull you out of bed at night for going to the wrong protest or saying the wrong thing or visiting the wrong website. For people who literally rely on the clothes on their back, the things that are in their house, and the little bit of money they have. And, if a natural disaster comes through, if anything happens with the government, they can lose everything that they have overnight. This changes that for those people. And so some of the things I want to talk about just in terms of actual numbers, things that I think are tangible to people, are that the whole concept of international remittance. So I'm not sure how many people, it's millions and millions of people around the world, leave their home countries, typically third world countries. The biggest ones are Mexico, the Philippines, Indonesia, China, and India have the largest number of people who are leaving their countries to work in a first world country to be able to make money to send back home. And so the poorest people on earth are leaving their homes, they're leaving their families and their loved ones to go try to make a better life for themselves and for those people. And we are taking money from the poorest people on earth. So international remittance, when they send money home, that's what that is. And so there's about $600 billion a year that are in that kind of flow from first world to third world countries. And the statistic that I last heard was that 175 billion of that on average are kept by third-party entities in fees, which is astronomical. So again, we are taking an average of 15% from the poorest people on earth and giving it to companies like Western Union. And so imagine what would happen. They're transacting in Bitcoin. So if I worked all week, I want to send money home to my family in the Philippines, I have $100 to send, and I go to Western Union to send it, and it costs $15. It's $15 out of my pocket, out of the pocket of my family and loved ones back home. Not only that, it takes days to arrive, right? Or I can send Bitcoin from my smartphone to their smartphone, because believe it or not, there are more people in the world with smartphones than running water in their homes. I can send it literally in seconds. May take 10 minutes for the money to actually be available, but for literally cents, maybe 5 cents. And transaction fees do vary, and I think they'll continue to do so, but it is not 15%. And so what would happen if the poorest people on earth got $175 billion a year back? What would they do with it? They would buy sanitation and housing and education and healthcare and things that would spike the global economy into the trillions of dollars. So this is incredible just in that one arena. It's also disruptive to banking and governments. There are very corrupt governments in this world. We all know that, but governments who will take everything you have. If you don't know what happened in India in 2016, where the two largest bills in the country were suddenly said, these are no longer legal tender. And I won't go into the whole story, but I think it was over 80% of the money that was in the economy, the cash money, rupees, were removed from the economy pretty much overnight in an economy that's 95% cash based. So it prevents those types of scenarios. People died waiting for ATMs and healthcare and all kinds of stuff, and they're still feeling the repercussions of that. Things that happened in Greece and Cyprus and here in 2008, all over the world, these things. And it prevents those things from happening because, again, people control what's theirs for the first time ever. And that is so exciting to me. That is the best part of all of this. And again, disruptive to banking and governments. I think those industries are going to be, particularly the banking industry, look very, very different a decade from now, particularly several decades from now. Because when you're using cryptocurrencies, you don't have to ask anyone's permission for anything, which is so exciting. There are smart contract capabilities with cryptocurrency, not necessarily as much Bitcoin, but again, I'll give a third world country example. Honduras, I believe it was notorious for having people who live on one property for, generations or even years or decades that they own, and the government coming in and saying, well, we know you've lived here for a while, but our systems say that this belongs to us or to my cousin or somebody, and you need to get out. And so smart contracts like home titles can be stored on the blockchain, which is the backbone of cryptocurrency, and so much more. We don't even have time to go into all of it, but it prevents those things from happening because those ledgers are irrefutable, whereas paper files, internet files, all of those things are, and it protects people in a whole new way. And literally all you need to transact in Bitcoin to become part of the global economy for the first time ever in human history is a smartphone with texting capabilities. And if you go into villages in Africa or South America or Asia, you'll find, a hut in the village that has a satellite, and the satellite is used to charge the village of the cell phone. And that's the thing that connects them to the outside world. And now it becomes a bank for the people who have been unbanked their entire lives. I think it's over 2 billion people have zero access to banking. And then there's a lot of corruption in there in between as well. There are a lot of artificial intelligence capabilities around this as well. So the possibilities with cryptocurrencies, not even just Bitcoin, are tremendous. And so I hope that gives you just a little bit of insight. I'm getting a question. Amy, she says, just a cell phone. Yeah, so I can literally send money from my e-wallet to someone else's by pressing, I think it's like 3 buttons. It's crazy easy to send this money. And that's all you need. So, so how can you get involved? That's what a lot of people want to know, because the reality is that it's still early in the game. I mentioned, the growth that we anticipate seeing in Bitcoin and a lot of the other big ones like Ethereum, Litecoin, over the next year, particularly the next 2 to 3 years. And you know what, if you're watching this again from a first world country where you have the privilege and maybe a little bit of extra money to invest, this is the time to actually get in and make a little bit of money. I almost feel bad saying that, just knowing the implications that this has. But we are lucky, we are privileged, and that's, the other side of what I do with this. So there are a couple of main ways to get involved. There are more than this, but these are kind of like the top 4. The first is just to buy and hold your cryptocurrency. You can trade your cryptocurrency. You can think of that like stock day trading almost. You can mine it, which is something that I'm doing. The company I am invested in buys hardware on your behalf, and mining is the process of transaction verification. You get paid daily in Bitcoin for all the problems you solve. Very complicated to try to explain on this on this video here, but if you're interested, I'm happy to send some more resources or chat with you. Or you can get paid in crypto. So there are so many businesses. I mentioned over 100,000 retailers who are accepting crypto. And I've actually heard of people in real estate listing their New York apartments. And I heard about one in Dubai as well, just in Bitcoin. They want to be paid in Bitcoin. Amy, the minimum Bitcoin you can buy is $10, which is pretty cool. And you can, and so you can do any of these things or a combination. So I'm currently in the process of doing all of those things. The mining is really what excites me the most because it's what allows you to grow your Bitcoin over time. And so if you mine, after a period of time, you'll typically have anywhere from 2 to 8 times the Bitcoin that you would have if you just bought and held. So the opportunity and the value will be determined when you actually exchange it for US dollars, right? So over time, to think if I put in half a Bitcoin's worth of money, but I could mine 5 Bitcoins in the next 3 years like that, and they're worth $100,000 then or more, that's a pretty sweet ROI. It's not a get rich quick scheme. And I highly recommend that people take the time to learn about this, not only for the kind of humanitarian global implications, but when you're making a decision about how to get started. Lola, mining is definitely a long-term investment. I would say it's safer, but if you do your research, right? Because there are a lot of companies out there that say that they are mining and they are not. They are Ponzi's and they will disappear with your money within like 6 to 18 months. That's why I love the company that I'm with, and I think you know about it too, because we are visible on the blockchain. We produce 1% to 4% of global Bitcoin that is mined every single day, and you can see every transaction. Everything is super transparent. But again, there's a lot of opportunities in mining. You just want to make sure that you do your research and find the right one. So if this is of interest to you, I hope this gives you some new insight, and I really wanted to do this, and I'm speaking to a lot of people here locally in Asheville, but been trying not to confuse messages with all my different businesses, but I just think this is so important because I've heard so much negativity around it. The bubble's going to burst. It's not real money. There's just, because people just don't know. They don't understand what it is. And I am not an expert by any means. I spend probably 50 hours a week right now just learning about this stuff. I think there are very few experts in the world. To me, the technical pieces of how it all works together don't really matter that much. What excites me is not only the opportunity for people like myself and like some of you watching to get in on the ground floor. It feels too late sometimes, but less than 1% of the world is using crypto, but to get in on the forefront of history in the making, because I do believe that this is going to change the world in a way just as big, if not bigger than the internet, because of what it's going to do for the other 6 billion people on the planet. So, this isn't something you have to pour your life savings into. As I mentioned, somebody had the question, you can buy $10 of Bitcoin. There are great education platforms that I'm involved in as well, that I'm happy to share a link to. It's where I learned a lot of this stuff, and then spending a lot of time on YouTube and with awesome people, one who I'm going to do an interview with on Wednesday night. And if this is of interest of you, post in the comments any questions you have. If you want to chat about it offline, I'm happy to do that as well. Again, not an expert, but super passionate about this. And when I go all in with something, I kind of went all in with Pearl Jam, when I was like 15, and I'm still all in with that. So maybe Bitcoin is the 4th thing, but I think it matters more. So, is it legitimate? I would argue that some of the Asian countries are the biggest users of cryptocurrencies, and it's 100% legitimate. Is it high risk? Yes, it's totally new technology. Again, it's not money. It's a totally new technology that has the application of digital money. So yes, it's totally legitimate. The only thing is you've got to get involved if you want to be invested in it, you have to do it from with a really good company that is trustworthy and reputable, and educate yourself and talk to people. I would say that's the biggest risk. Actually, the biggest risk is human error, because when you create an e-wallet where you store your crypto, your Bitcoin or whatever, you get digital keys to the wallet. It's like a 12 to 16 word phrase. And I've heard many stories of people losing their keys to their wallet. And those are not like you click forgot password and it's recoverable. So if the keys are lost, it's not good. So, Amy, I will clarify also when I say, when I talk about that as being the biggest risk, I'm talking about the big ones, particularly Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, those big ones that I really truly believe are here to stay. Now, there are 1,500 other cryptocurrencies out there that you could invest in. They all have, or they should have, different premises of what they're, what they're trying to create. Some are all around the sharing economy, like Airbnb and Uber. They all have like a premise or a platform. That's kind of one thing to look at. So kind of looking in some of the altcoins, where I stand with that is going to be more from like a trading perspective. So, I'm just reading the comments here. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Learned tons of it from you. So, this is such an exciting time. We are, again, standing on history in the making. This is the forefront. Robert, so mining, it didn't realize it was profitable. Yeah, if you want to mine in your basement, it's not profitable. There's no way. Because you're basically competing with the other mining pools to solve the problems the fastest, right? And so all the biggest mining pools are in China. The one that I'm with has... I'm not sure if they're all American founders, but a lot of American founders. My friend Sean, who just posted on here, he just got back from Iceland. He was in one of the mining facilities that we use there. But I think, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, we have about $173 million worth of equipment. So Robert, if you want to be profitable in mining, you need to join a large pool, like the one that Sean and I are in. Because you can't mine Bitcoin in your basement and have it be profitable. It's just, it doesn't work that way anymore, but it did. And then those people lost the keys to their wallets because it wasn't worth anything. If you want to mine some of the big coins, that's the way to do it, is to join a mining pool, and it is extremely profitable. And this company that I'm with, I'm super excited about for a variety of reasons. They have a much bigger vision than just mining, because mining won't always be what it is with that scarcity principle that I talked about. So we have a vision for being in retail, so like crypto Visa kind of, and instead of being paid for mining, the investors like myself would be paid in the transaction fees, which are still lower than a Visa, 1% versus 3%. And so it's a very exciting vision that we have around ATMs and all that kind of stuff. So difference between Bitcoins and altcoins. So anything other than Bitcoin is an altcoin. Ethereum's an altcoin, Litecoin's an altcoin, Monero's an altcoin. So it's anything that's alternative to Bitcoin. So I'll hang if anyone has any more questions. But what I will say is now is the time to get involved. There are predictions that the market's going to go up by 4,000% in the coming years, which if you look at the history of this over the last couple of years, really since its inception, since it's not that old, I don't know how many thousands of percent it's gone up, but from about 1,000th of a cent or something to, we finished last year high of almost $20,000 per. And there are reasons that the market crashed the way that it did. And from what I understand, they have to do with the whole global economy. The US stock market kind of crashed at the same time. There's a lot of things going on in India. That's 15% of the world's population, huge users in Bitcoin. And we were in the Chinese New Year as well, which ended last week. So that kind of puts things on hiatus. Not only that, but what we saw, that price spike was people were really starting to hear about it for the first time. And there was that fear of missing out. And all these people bought in, they bought in really high. And then came January, February, people freaked out, right? Because the price started dropping. It's just like the stock market. You don't buy high and sell low. You hold on to it. And so we are on the road to recovery, and we're going to blow past the $20,000 mark. I have no doubt about this. So it's a really exciting time to be part of this, but if you sell it at the low, it's not gonna feel very good. Buy high, sell low, don't do that. And there will be a time where this is too late to use that as an investment opportunity. If we're talking specifically about mining, because as I mentioned, we're going to be mining a lot less come 2 years from now, and so that will change. And then also, once Bitcoin is at $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 per, that's not a great investment opportunity, because it's going to require so much jumping around to make really huge gains and losses and create that volatility that makes it profitable. So, any other questions for you guys? Because I really think that there are going to be three kinds of people in the next 2 to 3 years. There's going to be the ones who lived under a rock, never heard about this, the ones who did get involved from an investment standpoint, if you are lucky and privileged, as I am, to be able to do so, and the ones who really wish they had, because they watched this video, or they read an article, or they saw another friend's post and they ignored it, because now is absolutely the time if you want to do this. So if I can be of help, Robert, I have no idea what that video is. All I could see is the code. Oh, cool. Yeah, I went actually to a meetup group last night at Exit Vistas Realty. So it was interesting. It was way more techie. I'm way more like human and real world application, but I think kind of marrying the two is a great idea. So I'm actually planning to follow up with the host of that. So anybody else have questions, comments, feedback? I think this is a hot topic, and I hope, if you learned something from watching this, you'll share with me, and share this video if it resonates with you or if it was helpful, because honestly, after some of the conversations I've had the last couple of weeks, I just want to get the word out about what this really is, because there is so much negativity and misconceptions, and it's because people don't know what they're talking about, and it's because people talk to people who don't know what they're talking about and take their word for it. And it's very hard for people from a traditional financial background, particularly, who are very attached to that, to want to embrace digital currency. That's just kind of reality. So don't let the negativity fool you. Don't be one of those people who wishes they got involved in the year 2018. I wish I'd gotten involved when I first, heard the word Bitcoin a couple of years ago, but, I'm here now. I'm here to share what I can and to help anyone else get involved who would like to do so. And it's so easy. I know it sounds big and scary, but it's so easy to get involved. So, if there's no more questions or comments, I will shut this off, but please feel free to leave them, even if you're watching this in a replay. Tom, I saw your comment come through. I forgot to respond. So happy that you're watching from New Zealand. Let me know how I can help you. Inbox me, whatever. I have some great opportunities that I'm in that I'm happy to share with anybody. So if you want to know more, let me know, and I will help however I can. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and have an awesome evening.